One thing that's interesting about talking about bias in AI is that it butts up against these various issues in diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI issues about things like implicit bias. And then there's a lot of sort of bleeding over from that DEI talk about implicit bias to talking about bias in AI. So what you get are things like, oh, well, the engineers and data scientists have their implicit biases, and so that explains why we get discriminatory or biased models. I don't really think that's the issue. Maybe implicit bias is an issue in a variety of areas, but I don't think that's really the main source of bias or discriminatory models when it comes to AI. So to give you one example that's pretty well known, I think, when the Amazon data scientists were creating a resume reading AI, and it found, and they used historical hiring data to train their AI to see which resumes are worthy of an interview and which are not, the AI found this pattern that something like, we don't hire women around here. That wasn't because of the implicit biases of the data scientists. It certainly wasn't. In fact, they had the intention to de-bias. They worked on this thing for 2 years to de-bias it, and they couldn't do it. So the explanation there is an implicit bias. It's not as though they were explicitly unbiased, but their implicit bias was undercutting their explicit lack of bias as they tried out various strategies and techniques for de-biasing it. So we can get discriminatory models in various ways. Some of it has to do with training data. There are other sources of discriminatory outputs as well, but I don't see how implicit bias is a major explainer for the implicit biases of data scientists and engineers as good explainers for how we generally wind up with biased or discriminatory models. And so I don't think we should be asking data scientists to dive deep into their implicit biases so that they can de-bias their models. There's loads of other strategies and tactics that I think will prove far more effective.